Hey, this is the Bun Mom Life with me, Jessie, and my 3 buns, Rue, Linus, and Timo. You may know us from our Instagram account, Little Loppy Rue, and we're here to share with you our journey as a bun family. Let's hop to it. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Bun Mom Life. Thank you so much for joining us again. It is a beautiful sunny winter day here in Toronto. Our winter this year has been really mild. We haven't had much snow, so Rue hasn't been able to play in the snow that much. But when we do get that one day of snow that's fluffy and soft, she just has a blast. And we always try to share it with all of you, so I'm sure you've seen her latest video of her making a little snow angel on our balcony. I was at a cafe the other day in downtown Toronto after an in-person audition for a voice acting project. And as I was sitting there, a very good friend of mine came to meet me. And it was so sweet of her. It was a spontaneous decision. And it was a very last-minute audition, so it was really nice of her to come out and meet me. One of my favorite things in the whole wide world is to go to a cafe and have an intimate conversation with my husband or with a friend or a family member. That's truly one of my favorite things to do. And as we were there, we saw an adorable, beautiful dog come into the cafe with his or her parent. And I thought, it's so nice when cafes and restaurants are able to open up to people bringing in their fur babies. And I thought, I would love to bring Rue to every single cafe date with me. That would be perfect. I'd have her in her stroller. We'd stroll into the cafe. She'd sit beside me at the cafe as I have my cappuccino with oat milk, and she'd get a little treat as well. That would be a dream. Maybe one day I will, but I also worry about her feeling super stressed. In my head, it's an ideal experience, but in hers, it might not be. And because navigating downtown Toronto with Rue in a stroller would probably not be the best. All the cars and the sounds and all the different things would definitely stress her out a lot. So it's a dream for the future. Maybe when we move and the area we're going to might have a cafe in a little bit more of a quieter area that's also pet-friendly, maybe we'll bring her. We'll see. So today's topic is about Rue hitting puberty and her spay procedure. So bunnies usually hit puberty in between 3 to 6 months of age. So that's when they become teenagers. For Rue, around 4 months of age, that's when we really started to see her personality come in. So her sassiness and her bossiness and her need to be fawned over, all of these traits really started to develop at that time. So I'm guessing that's when she started to hit puberty and get into those teen months. She was a little bit sensitive. Shh, don't tell her I said that. And she didn't enjoy being laughed at, like most of us, right? And it was super adorable. If she did something funny or silly, at least did something funny or silly to us, not to her, and Bun Dad and I would laugh, she would immediately stop what she's doing and glare at us. You don't think bunnies could glare. But they can. You know, there's that meme, I don't know if you've seen it, where it shows different scenarios and different emotions, and then the bunny's face is the same in every single one. And that's true too. But let me tell ya, Rue does a mean glare. And you know it. You totally know it. She's also really good at letting you know when she's fully judging you. And most of the time that look makes me laugh and giggle, but sometimes it does make me question myself and my decisions in life. That's the power of Queen Rue. At that time, she would always also thump whenever we were late for something, whenever we were too slow with something, whenever she needed something and we weren't meeting her requests and demands. Basically, many thumping moments. Now, at 5 months, that's when we really felt the full impact of Rue hitting puberty. because she became super, super territorial. And that was when she really realized, I am Queen Rue. This is my home. This is my space. You have to listen to me. And so one of the things that she did, to our dismay, was to poop all over our bed every single day, every single moment. Surprisingly, no pee, just poop. But we would leave the bedroom, come back after a bit, and see that our entire bed is covered in bunny poop. Like I shared before, thankfully bunny poops are super dry and just round balls of hay, basically. So it's very easy to clean up, but it was still not the most pleasant experience to have to constantly come back to your bed full of poop. Eventually, what we did was we got our picnic blanket, which was one of the ones that are very easy to clean, and we just laid it across our entire bed. And so she at least would poop onto that picnic blanket, and we could easily remove it, get rid of all the poop, lay it back down, and it was easy cleanup. She only did it in our bed. She did it quite a bit in certain parts of the living room as well, but not on the couch, surprisingly. Probably because at that time we really didn't sit on our couch that much. So one fun fact about us is Bundad and I do not have a TV at home. We don't have Netflix, we don't have Apple TV, we don't have Crave TV. I know there's a bunch of them out there now. We don't have any of those. Bun Mom doesn't actually watch any series or anything like that, so we never felt the need to have a TV. The only time we really do want one is when we are hosting and have guests over and we want to watch something together with them, or when it's Christmas time and we really want to watch some Christmas movies together on a big screen. Those are usually the times when we wish we had a TV, but other than that, we definitely don't have a use for one. But when we move to our bigger place, we probably will get one, just for those moments and scenarios and situations that I just mentioned. But anyways, because of that, we don't sit on the couch and watch TV and things like that, so our smells weren't really too much in the couch. But the bed, yes, of course, and the carpets of the living room where we're often sitting around with Rue, hanging out, lying down, just to be as close to her as possible, covered in our scents. And Rue, growing into her royal queenness at that time, needed to make sure, of course, that we knew that though everything was scented with us, everything belonged to her. And also, it was a way for her to tell us that we belonged to her. So, pooping all the time. And we couldn't schedule Rue's spay until 6 months. That was the age that our vets would take in bunnies to be fixed. And I'll share about our decision to get Rue spayed in just a little bit. But because we had to wait another full month, and it doesn't sound like that long, but I so clearly remember that in that month, I was literally counting down the days until her spay procedure because it was so much poop on our bed all the time, and it was getting ridiculous. Now, getting bunnies fixed is quite a touchy subject, and I respect all parties whether you choose to have your bunnies fixed or not. Our decision to have Rue spayed was something we decided quite early on. We knew that we wanted to have it done. And for us, it was because we read about the benefits of having bunnies fixed regarding their health, regarding their behavior. For example, less territorial, less aggressive, easier for bonding, even though at that time we didn't expect that we would get a second bunny. But overall, the biggest thing for us was her health. If it can optimize her health, we wanted to do it. And of course, like any procedure or any surgery, there are always risks. And some bunnies have unfortunately been lost during this procedure. So we also knew the risk associated with getting her fixed. For us, the benefits still outweighed the risk, so we decided to do it. And we did do as much prep as we could to ensure that her procedure would go smoothly and successfully. One of the things was doing blood work beforehand to make sure her health was optimal for the surgery, and also that she would take well to the anesthesia. So that gave us peace of mind to proceed and go ahead as well. So finally, in October of that year, Rue hit her 6-month mark and we were taking her in for her spay. One thing we really appreciated about our vet is that after any of these kinds of procedures, they always keep the bunnies there overnight so that they can monitor the bunny at their most critical time after the procedure and make sure they're doing all right. So that also really gave us peace of mind, knowing that, during the most critical stage of her healing process, there would be professionals there to watch over her. And they would catch anything really early on, if something wasn't going well. So that meant we had to prep Rue's overnight bag. That included bringing her blankie, her bunny stuffy, which you often see her with, a bag of her favorite pellets, some forage, and a couple of treats. It's always nice for bunnies to have things from home that smell like home so that they don't feel as nervous when they're in a place that's completely brand new to them. So we made sure to pack those to bring along with her. In the car ride to the vets, she was super excited because she had no clue where she was going and what was about to happen. Rue generally in car rides is pretty curious, and she likes to stand up perched on the edge of her carrier so that she can look out the window and watch as things go by. And that was how she was, even as a little teenager. We dropped her off in the morning at the clinic, and we were so nervous. If you are bun parents, you would totally understand this. Because there's that risk, of course, in our heads and our brains, that's going to be a huge deal. And we're always so worried. You just never know, right? And so when we dropped her off, I'm telling you, I felt like crying. I probably did cry. I don't really remember. But I was super emotional about it and very worried about her. All day, I was pretty distracted waiting for that call from the vet to update us in the afternoon. And they did, of course, and they told us that everything went really well. That Rue was coming out of her anesthesia, she was groggy, but she was starting to nibble a bit on her hay, so she was doing very well. That was a huge relief, and we felt like we could let out a breath of air that we were holding onto this whole time. And we just had to wait overnight till the next morning when we'd get another call from the vet with another update and also a time to pick her up. We were very excited to bring Queen Rue home. At home, we had to set up the space for her recovery. So because we needed to make sure that her incision would heal well and that she wouldn't open up her stitches, this meant that we had to put her back into a smaller enclosure. So we actually did the same setup almost as when we first brought her home. We used the fences to create a small area for her that was still big enough for her to roam around, wander around, but small enough that she couldn't do wild zoomies and binkies that could potentially open up her incision, and also nothing that she could jump up on, again, to protect her wound. So our litter box we swapped out for a homemade one that we made out of cardboard. And that was completely thanks to our bunny community that gave us that advice. So I took a cardboard box, cut it so that it had low edges, and one side was a full opening so she wouldn't have to jump into the litter box at all. Just put a pee pad in there, hung her hay bag as usual, and it was ready to go. When we brought her home and let her into her enclosed space, she was really happy to be home. She was exploring immediately, running around, sniffing everything out, and pretty quickly went to nibble and eat on her hay. Her poops that first day were, of course, not fully normal yet. They were smaller in size, they were a little bit misshapen, but that's pretty normal due to the stress, due to the surgery, and she wasn't eating for a few hours, right? So we were very closely monitoring that and also making sure she was constantly eating something. A portion of her belly had to be shaved for the incision, and we had actually opted to do a post-surgical laser treatment. This is what the vet offered, which helps the wound to heal quicker with less irritation and also helps the fur to grow back nicely. And because her belly was shaved and she didn't have that thick fur to keep her warm there anymore, we used a heating pillow to try to keep her warm. It was very nice. It was actually a gift from one of our dear friends, one of the bunny's aunties, Auntie A. And she had made a bunch of these heating pillows to give to a group of us. It was stuffed inside with some rice. I also had lavender in it, so it smelled really nice. We just had to pop it in the microwave for a few seconds and then bring it out, and we gave it to Rue during her healing. She did snuggle with it for quite a bit, and overnight the first night, she actually had squeezed between the outside of her tent and the wall to sleep, and I was wondering if that was perhaps because it would elevate her belly slightly off the floor because she was cold. I was pretty much awake most of the night to keep a close eye on her. So when I saw this, I moved the heating pillow right beside her, but on the other side of the tent, so on the inside of the tent, just so that some warmth would seep through as she was snuggled there. Afterwards, looking back, I thought a heating pad may have been better because then she could lie on top of that. By the next day, her appetite was back to normal, to our joy, and she was pooping very well. This also meant that her full, big, sassy personality was back. We had to keep her in the enclosure until she was fully recovered, and her stitches weren't coming off until about a week later during her recheck at the vet's. But Rue hated being in the enclosed space since she normally free roams the entire home, so she definitely felt like she was in bunny jail. And she was starting to feel so frustrated that she would bite and chew at the fence. She'd push it and shake it as hard as she could, or she'd try to dig herself out. Of course, escaping that enclosure was pretty much impossible for her, even though Rue is super strong, and she can actually grip the fence with her teeth and lift the entire fence up a couple of inches. Not enough for her to escape, but I would say that's pretty strong for a little bunny. She also started to chew things that she normally wouldn't chew on, like the tent itself. So we had to give her plenty of toys to try to distract her and keep her busy, and we would stay in her penned area for as much as possible to pet her, and these were really the only moments and times that she was calm. But after a couple of days, we felt so bad for her that we called the vet to ask if it'd be okay to give her just a little bit more space. And they told us that as long as she can't jump up onto anything or do too wild and big of binkies and zoomies, that it'd be fine. So we enlarged her space quite a bit to our entire living room area, and we used the fences to block off the couch so that she couldn't jump on that. We removed any taller surfaces that she could potentially jump on, and the carpet area at that time was still small enough that she could potentially run around, but not do anything too crazy that would harm her. We would often check on her stitches to see how they were doing. And to do that, we used a trick where we would put either treats or pellets in the palm of our hands and raise it so that she would perch on our hand with her front paws and be standing up. And that would give us a very good glimpse of her belly. There was no excessive redness, no swelling, no pus, so everything looked great. A week later, we went back to the vet's for her recheck. This time around in the car, she was definitely much more nervous and scared, so she stayed snuggled up inside the carrier. I think because her experience with the surgery and the procedure was just not pleasant for her, so she knew, oh no, car rides, not fun. But don't worry. It wouldn't take long for her to enjoy her car rides again and be perched up looking out the window. This was when we started to take her on trips and little outings. Yeah, so she wasn't associating car rides with just the vet visits anymore, and she was a lot happier. At the vet's, after they checked and saw that her incision healed really nicely, her stitches got removed. And that also meant all the fences in the space got removed. This girl was so happy. And one of the first things she did was run right into our bedroom to explore her favorite hidey house, our bed. Then she came back out and hopped into her regular litter box and ate and munched on a bunch of hay. We were very relieved to have her regular litter box back because it just helped with preventing so much hay mess. The other hay box was, of course, required during her recovery, but we loved having her regular litter box back. Yay! And then, just like that, Rue's territorialness just went away. She stopped pooping in the bed. She didn't poop anywhere else other than in her litter box. It was like magic. We were pretty stunned because it literally felt like a switch. On and then off, just like that. Which thrilled us, of course. No more cleaning up the poops every hour from our bed. No more picnic blanket on the bed either. It was great. And that's the story of Rue hitting puberty and then having her spay shortly after. Her spay didn't change her personality in terms of her sassiness and her bossiness, but she definitely reacted to things more calmly. Didn't thump as much in demand, although sometimes that still comes out, which is totally fine. We love it. We love the way she communicates, and we want her to express herself whenever she can and feel free. But yeah, other than those things, she was still our girl Rue, our Queen Rue. We hope you enjoyed this episode. We hope you loved hearing all these stories. Please let us know, how did your experience with your bunnies being fixed go? We'd love to hear. Or if you have any feedback about today's episode, please feel free to send us an email, send us a message or a DM over Instagram. We always love to hear from you. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of the day or evening wherever you are in this magnificent world, and we will see you next time. Our buns send you lots of boops. And of course, if no one has told you yet today, know that you are loved and cherished. Bye.